Tom stood quietly near the edge of the glowing lake, staring at the two silver moons that floated above the alien sky. The water shimmered in soft waves, glowing with faint blue light. This place never stopped amazing him. He had been on the planet Olera for almost 2 years, working as a systems engineer in the human colony. But it wasn't the strange beauty of the planet that had captured his heart. It was Mira. She was not like any human. Her skin had a soft violet shade, and her long dark hair flowed like silk. Mira's eyes held a calm wisdom, and her voice was always soft and thoughtful. She moved gently, like the wind through tall grass. Tom didn't understand how or when it had happened, but he had fallen in love with her. Tonight was the night. He had made up his mind. Tom had built a small bench near the lake and cleaned it with care. He had even borrowed a glowing stone from one of the colony artists and carved Mira's name on it. The small gift now rested on the bench, beside a local flower she once said reminded her of home. Mira arrived just after sunset. She wore her usual robe, stitched with the symbols of her people. When she saw Tom standing there with the small glowing gift, she smiled in that way that always made his heart beat faster. "You called me here," she said gently, walking closer. Tom nodded. Suddenly nervous, his hands felt sweaty. His words caught in his throat, but he forced himself to speak. "I've been thinking," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We've known each other for a long time now. You've shown me so much about your people, about this world, about kindness and peace, and I think I want to spend my life with you." Mira tilted her head. Her eyes sparkled in the moonlight. Tom took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Mira, will you marry me?" There was a pause. The air seemed to hold its breath. Then Mira smiled, even brighter, walked forward, and placed her hand over Tom's heart. "Yes," she said, "I will." Tom felt like he couldn't breathe for a moment. Then joy filled his chest like sunlight breaking through clouds. He laughed, more from relief than anything else. Mira leaned her head against his shoulder, and they stood there quietly for a long time. But Tom didn't notice the small movement in Mira's fingers. She was sending a signal, a gentle light that moved across her skin like a message. The next morning, Tom woke up feeling like a different man. He made breakfast, cleaned his small habitat unit twice, and even smiled when one of the colony bots bumped into him. Everything seemed brighter. Mira arrived around noon with some of her handmade tea, and they sat on the deck. "I've told my sisters," she said simply. Tom raised an eyebrow. "Your sisters?" "Yes," Mira answered. "They'll want to be with us. It is tradition." Tom blinked. "Wait, what do you mean by be with us?" Mira took a small sip of tea and explained in her usual calm way. "In my culture, when someone accepts a bond, the family shares the life as well. We are not many, but we are close. My sisters are not strangers. They are part of me, so now they will be part of you." Tom stared at her, not sure if she was joking. "So they're visiting. They are coming," she said. "To live." He choked on his tea. "Live, yes." Tom leaned back in his chair, eyes wide. He didn't want to offend her. He still didn't understand all of her ways. But this was not what he had imagined. He thought they would live together, just the two of them, quiet mornings, private dinners, maybe even a small greenhouse someday. "How many sisters do you have?" he asked carefully. "5. Mira replied. Tom blinked again. "5. She nodded. "And they're all moving in, yes?" Tom stared at the sky. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even sure he was confused. It was more like the ground had shifted under him. He had asked a question from the heart and received an answer he wasn't ready for. "I should prepare the house," he muttered. Mira smiled and stood up. "I will help." That evening, Tom sat outside again. He looked at the stars and tried to imagine 5 more people living with him, 5 sisters. He had no idea what they were like. Were they like Mira? Were they loud, quiet, curious? Did they speak basic language? Would they need beds, tools, clothes? Could the house even hold 7 people? Just then, his communicator beeped. "Tom," came the voice of one of the colony guards. "We've got several unidentified ships landing near your zone. Non-threatening signature. Permission to approach." Before he could answer, Mira stepped outside and touched the communicator. "They are with me," she said softly. "Let them land." Tom stood up and looked toward the distant field. In the sky, 5 glowing dots were approaching. Each ship had a different color, shaped like long petals floating down. They moved smoothly, without sound. As the ships touched down, Tom could feel the weight of the moment settling in. This wasn't just about love anymore. This was about joining a culture, a family, in a way no human guidebook had ever prepared him for. Mira touched his arm. "You asked me to be your mate," she said. "I have said yes, and now you will meet my heart's sisters." Tom took a deep breath. The ship doors opened, and the adventure truly began. The ships touched down one by one in the open field near Tom's habitat. The ground made no sound. There was no smoke or heat, just a soft pulse of light as each vessel settled gently on the grass. Tom stood beside Mira, heart beating fast, unsure what to expect. "They're here," Mira said with a calm smile. Tom nodded slowly, eyes fixed on the ships. Each ship was a different color. One was silver blue like Mira's eyes. Another was deep green, the color of fresh Olaran fruit. One was red with gold lines across the side. The last 2 were shaped wider, with markings Tom didn't recognize. As the doors opened, Tom took a breath. He had seen alien beings before, but Mira's people always carried a sense of grace and mystery. If her sisters were anything like her, he needed to be ready. The first to step out was tall, with short hair and sharp eyes. She wore a suit covered in thin wires and glowing stones. She walked with confidence and carried a long staff in one hand. "This is Lena," Mira said. "She is the second sister." Lena looked Tom up and down, then gave a single nod. "You are the human," she said. "Yes," Tom replied, standing straight. "I'm Tom. Welcome." She said nothing more, but her eyes softened a little as she stepped aside. The second sister appeared with a loud laugh, pulling 2 heavy boxes behind her. She had wild hair and wore a thick jacket with too many pockets, something small, and Frey peeked out from one of them. "This is Rel," Mira said. Rel grinned. "So this is the one who asked for my sister's bond," she said cheerfully. "You've got courage." Tom gave a nervous smile. "Trying my best." Behind her came a much quieter figure. She walked slowly, holding a long string of crystals that sang softly in the wind. Her face was calm, her eyes half closed. She wore long robes with flowing lines. "She is Senna," Mira said. "She listens more than she speaks." Senna bowed silently and gave Tom a warm, quiet smile. The 4th ship opened, and out came a small figure with tools strapped to her belt. She was younger, but her eyes looked like she had seen more than most people. She moved quickly, already scanning the area. "She is Tala," Mira explained. "She fixes everything." Tom gave a polite wave. "We'll need that," he said. The 5th and final ship opened. The last sister stood tall and still. She had no tools, no extra bags, just a glowing mark across her chest. Her hair was tied in braids, and her eyes looked straight into Tom's soul. "She is Vara," Mira said softly. The oldest, Vara stepped forward and spoke in a deep voice. "You have asked for Mira," she said. "That means you have asked for all of us." Tom swallowed hard. "I didn't know it worked that way." Vara nodded. "Now you do." Mira touched his arm gently. "It is our way. You have not done wrong." Tom stood in silence as the sisters gathered their things and began walking toward his house. It felt like a dream. Yesterday, he had imagined a quiet life with Mira. Now, 6 people were about to share his home, and 5 of them were complete strangers inside the house. Everything changed quickly. Rel opened the kitchen cabinets and started placing strange jars filled with glowing seeds. Tal found the main control panel and began adjusting the lights and heat settings. Lena stood near the window, scanning the sky with her staff. Senna sat in a corner and laid out her singing crystals. Vara walked through each room like a commander, checking a base. Tom just stood in the middle, turning slowly as each sister moved with purpose. Mira finally took his hand. "They are strong in their own ways. They will not harm. They are family." "I know," Tom said. It's just fast, she smiled. We do not delay when the heart speaks. Later that night, after everything settled, the sisters sat together in the living room. Mira brought out hot tea, and Tom offered a simple fruit dish. They ate quietly for a few minutes. Then Rel broke the silence. So, human, what do you do? I work with the colony systems, Tom said. Power grids, communication links, emergency systems. I help things stay online. Rel nodded. Good. You'll be useful. Lena spoke next. Do you know any combat? Tom raised an eyebrow. Not really. Why? In case we need it. Tom gave a weak chuckle. I hope we don't. Tala laughed softly and adjusted something on her wristband. You'll learn. Vara sipped her tea. We will stay for as long as needed, until the bond is settled fully. What does that mean? Tom asked. Senna looked at him and said her first words of the night. Until your heart beats with all 6 names, not just one. Tom looked at Mira, who nodded gently. They speak truth. He didn't understand everything, but something in their eyes told him this was not just tradition. It was about trust, about choosing not just one person, but a full path. It was hard, but it was real. That night, Tom lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He could hear soft voices in the next room, strange music, laughter, tools clicking. His house wasn't his alone anymore. He smiled faintly. Maybe that was a good thing. By the 3rd day, Tom realized his peaceful home was no longer the same. The morning began with a loud humming noise. Tom sat up, confused, and followed the sound to the kitchen. He found Rel mixing strange glowing powder into a metal pot, steam rising from it in soft green clouds. Breakfast, she said with a proud smile. Energy root blend. Will keep you alert for 30 hours? Tom blinked. What happened to toast? Rel laughed and handed him a spoon. Try this. Toast is for sleepy people. Before Tom could reply, the lights flickered. The wall screen blinked twice and turned blue. The temperature dropped suddenly. Tala. Tom called out, Are you working on the controls again? From under the table came a muffled voice. Yes, the heat flow was unbalanced. I'm fixing it. Tom crouched to see Tala's legs sticking out from a wall panel. Tools and wires were spread around her like she was building a robot from scratch. But it was balanced yesterday, he said. Yesterday's balance was boring, she replied. I added more options. Now you have breeze mode. The lights flashed again. Then they turned purple. Tom sighed and walked toward the living area. He found Lena sitting cross-legged by the window, her staff glowing. She didn't look up as he entered. What are you doing? Tom asked. Security scan. There was a shift in magnetic patterns last night. Might be nothing. Might be a signal. Tom frowned. A signal from what? Unknown, she answered. I will watch. Senna sat nearby, her fingers moving across the crystal strings she had set up like a gentle harp. The room filled with soft tones that made Tom's head feel light. It helps calm the air. She whispered, her eyes half closed. Tom gave her a small nod, careful not to disturb the music. Just then, Var walked in with a serious look. Someone moved my bag, she said, voice calm but firm. Tom looked around. I don't think. Rel borrowed your robe. Mira called out from the hallway. Var gave a long stare, then turned and walked away without another word. Tom stood in the center of the house and slowly turned in a full circle. This place used to be simple. Now every room was filled with new things, floating tools, plants in glowing jars, shelves filled with alien books, and musical crystals hanging from the ceiling. He sat down and rubbed his forehead. Mira came to sit beside him. You're overwhelmed, she said gently. A little, he admitted. She gave a soft smile. It is new, but not wrong. Tom looked at her. You're right, it's just fast. I didn't grow up with 5 sisters doing science experiments in the hallway. Mira placed her hand on his. You will learn. They already respect you. Tom chuckled. You call that respect? They stayed, Mira said. That means something. He looked at her, then at the house around him. Maybe she was right. The sisters were not trying to take over. They were simply being who they were. They had their habits, their skills, their quirks, and all of it came from love and history. Later that day, Tom decided to take action. He gathered everyone in the main room. They all sat around him, Mira beside him, the 5 sisters in a half circle. Even the furry creature in Rel's pocket peeked out with interest. Tom stood with a calm voice. I know I'm new to all this. I didn't expect 6 people living with me, and I really didn't expect this much change in 3 days. The sisters listened, each in their own way. Var crossed her arms, Rel leaned forward, Tala tapped her tool. Senna closed her eyes, and Lena didn't blink once. I'm not saying you shouldn't be here. Tom continued. I want you to be. I just think we need a few rules, or at least some understanding. Rel raised a hand. Like what? Tom smiled. Like, if you want to rewire the heating system, tell me first. If you want to run experiments, maybe not in the kitchen, and no borrowing robes without asking. Var gave a small nod. Also, Tom added, maybe one room can be a quiet zone. No machines, no crystals, no data screens. Senna opened her eyes and nodded. Fair. Tala scratched her head. Can I build a tech zone in the garage instead? Tom laughed. Yes, that's perfect. The sisters looked at each other. Mira smiled and stood up beside Tom. He is not giving orders. She said, he is trying to live with us. That is what a bond means. Var stood next. I accept this. One by one, the sisters agreed. That night, the house was calmer. Rel made dinner with earth ingredients and only added one glowing fruit. Tala fixed the lights to stay white, unless someone requested a color. Senna's music was softer, and Lena moved her scanning outside. Var sat with Mira and helped organize some of the shared space. Tom looked around as everyone settled. It was still a little wild, but now it felt like home. Not just his home, their home, and he was starting to like it. A week passed, and the house had slowly adjusted into a strange kind of order. The sisters each had their corner. Rel had taken over the kitchen. Tala had her tools spread across the garage. Senna's music crystals hung neatly in the hallway. Lena scanned the skies every morning from the roof. Var spent most of her time in the back room, studying maps and writing an old Alaran script. Tom felt things were going well. He had grown used to waking up to new smells in the kitchen and the soft hum of machines at night. Mira stayed close to him and helped him understand each sister better. But peace didn't last forever. One morning, while Tom was fixing the garden filter, his colony communicator beeped. This is Officer Bren from Central Command. We need to speak in person. Immediately, Tom froze. He wiped his hands and answered, Sure. What's the matter? We're arriving in 10 minutes. The message ended. Tom looked at Mira, who stood nearby. Command is coming. They want to talk. That usually doesn't happen unless something's wrong. Mira's eyes were calm. Then we will speak to them together. 10 minutes later, a colony vehicle landed near the house. A wide door opened, and Officer Bren stepped out, followed by 2 assistants. Bren was tall, serious, and always followed the rules. He wore a gray uniform with a silver badge on his chest. Tom stepped forward, trying to look confident. Morning, sir. Tom, Bren said, this is about your living situation. Behind Tom, Mira stood silently. One by one, her sisters joined her. The 5 of them stood straight, watching carefully. Bren raised an eyebrow. So it's true. All 6 of them are living here. Tom nodded. Yes, sir. Mira and I are bonded. It's part of her culture. And the colony approved this. Bren asked. Tom paused. Well, not exactly. I didn't know approval was required for personal arrangements. Bren crossed his arms. When it involves 5 off-worlders moving into a private engineer's residence, it becomes more than personal. There are safety rules, security protocols. You didn't file any notice. They're not a threat, Tom said firmly. They're my family now. Var stepped forward. We have not harmed your systems or people. We brought peace and knowledge. Nothing else? Bren looked at her, surprised she spoke so clearly. Still, I need to see what changes have been made. The colony must know who is living here and what kind of tech is being used. Tom sighed. You can come in. But please keep an open mind. The inspection began. Bren walked through the house. With a scanner, he stopped at Tala's garage lab and blinked as sparks flew from a small engine. "What is that?" "Mini-gravity spinner," Tala said. "Helps with waste recycling." "Want to see it bounce?" "No." Next, Bren found Rel, boiling a yellow liquid that bubbled and hissed. "Is that safe?" he asked. "Safer than coffee," Rel said with a wink. He passed by Senna's music room. "What are those crystals doing?" "Balancing energy flow," she said softly. "They keep the air calm." In Lina's sky watch room, Bren stopped. The wall was filled with screens and maps. "You're tracking the sky." "Yes," Lina said. "Something unusual is approaching." "What kind of something?" "Not sure yet." Finally, he entered Vara's map room. He paused. "Are those defense patterns?" "Yes," Vara replied, "in case of trouble." Bren looked at Tom. "This is not a normal home. You've built a research station without a license." Tom shook his head. "I didn't build it. They brought it with them. I just gave them." Space Mira stepped forward. "They are not guests. They are part of my bond. When I said yes to Tom, I brought my sisters. It is not a trick. It is love." Bren stared at her. He seemed unsure. "It doesn't work like this back at the colony." "But we are not back at the colony," Tom said. "We are here, on Olera, trying to build something new." Bren turned to his assistants. They spoke quietly for a moment. Then he looked back at Tom. "You could be removed," Bren said, "or separated. We have rules for a reason." Tom stood tall. "Then maybe the rules need to change. You send us here to learn, to grow. We've done that. You just didn't expect it to look like this." There was silence. Then one of Bren's assistants stepped forward. "Sir, the system shows they've improved grid performance by 20%. The shield is more stable since they arrived." Bren's face stayed serious. "That's not the point." "But it matters," Tom said. "They're not just living here. They're helping. They're making this place better." Bren looked at Mira again, then at each of her sisters. None of them looked afraid. He finally gave a slow nod. "You will submit a full report. Names, skills, equipment, everything." Tom nodded. "Done. And if anything happens, any danger, any signal, any strange movement, we expect you to tell us first. You'll be the first to know." Tom promised. Bren looked around one last time. Then he stepped back toward his vehicle. "This isn't normal," he said. Tom smiled. "Maybe it's time to redefine normal." Bren said nothing more and entered the ship. The engines hummed, and the vehicle lifted into the sky. Tom stood quietly as the wind blew across the field. Mira came beside him. "You spoke with courage." Tom looked at her and the 5 sisters who stood together like a single voice. "I just told the truth." He said, "This is my home now. All of you are part of it." That night, they sat together around a small fire near the lake. The stars above were bright. The moons were full. The wind was soft. Senna played her crystal tones. Rel passed out small treats. Tala made tiny floating lights that danced in the air. Lina watched the stars. Vara told a story from her childhood. And Mira leaned against Tom, quiet and warm. Whatever happened next, they would face it as one. The sky changed without warning. In the early morning, Lina stood on the roof of the house, eyes fixed on the horizon. The color of the clouds had shifted from soft blue to a strange orange-red. The wind moved faster than usual. A soft hum, deep and steady, filled the air. Tom was still finishing his tea when Lina called out, "A storm is coming." "Not like any I've seen." Tom stood quickly and ran up to the roof. "How bad?" Lina handed him a scanner. The readings made no sense. The energy levels were rising too fast. Pressure spikes, heat pulses, strange signals across the communication lines. Tala joined them with wide eyes. "That's not just weather. That's a plasma storm." Tom's heart sank. Plasma storms were rare, but deadly. They could knock out power, melt metal, and burn communication systems to the ground. The colony base had one large energy shield to protect it, and even that wasn't always strong enough. Tom looked toward the colony far in the distance. "If it hits the base directly, they might lose everything." Rel appeared beside them. holding a small bag of emergency supplies. It's already moving faster than expected. We have less than 2 hours. Inside the house, everyone got to work. Mira took charge, giving calm but clear orders. Her voice was firm, but never loud. Tala, check the core systems. Lena, watch the skies and track the path. Senna, set the calming crystals. Rel, pack medicine and food. Farah, prepare defense support if we lose power. Tom moved with them. He had trained for storms before, but never one this strong. He checked the colony's shield connection. It was weak, flickering. He opened a channel to base. This is Tom. You need to hear this. Plasma storm incoming. Fast and hard. Your shield is unstable. Bren's voice came through. Broken. We see it. Backup generator failed. We're running on 60%. Tom turned to Tala. We have to boost it. Can we patch from here? She nodded. It's risky, but if we connect our core to theirs through the old relay, it might. Give them a push. Do it. She dashed off with her tools. Outside, the wind screamed louder. Trees bent sideways. Dust swirled in the air like smoke. The sky had turned blood orange. Lightning crawled across the clouds like living fire. Inside, Senna sat in the center room, her fingers moving over her crystal strings. A soft hum filled the space. The music wasn't just for peace. It helped balance the energy in the house, keeping the walls stable. Rel lit small blue flames under a pot, cooking something thick and warm. No one saves the world hungry, she said with a grin. Var stood by the entrance, a glowing shield disc in her hand. She spoke little, but her eyes were sharp, watching the sky like it might attack any second. Tom ran to Tala's side. She had opened the old relay box and was wiring a direct line between their energy core and the colonies. We'll only have one chance, she said. Once I flip this, our power will drop. Do it. She nodded and pressed the switch. For a moment, the lights in the house flickered. The sound of the fans slowed. Then everything stabilized. The relay was active. Tom checked the signal. Colony shield is back at full. They're holding. A cheer came from the others, short and full of relief. But then Lena spoke again from the roof. The storm shifted. It's coming directly toward us now. There was no time to waste. The sisters moved like they had done this before. Fast, silent, ready. Tom stood outside with Mira. The sky above boiled like fire. The storm wall was massive, a living wall of red, gold, and blue. Lightning flashed every few seconds. The ground shook with thunder. We need a shield, Tom said. But our house core is too weak now. Mira turned to her sisters. Form the link, without a word. The sisters formed a circle around the house. Each one took a place, north, south, east, west, center, and top. Their hands glowed, energy flowing from their palms. Tom watched in awe as a soft dome of light started forming over the house. Not from machines, but from them, a living shield, powered by their shared bond. Hold the shape. Mira said, balance mind and heart. The wind hit first. It slammed into the shield with a sound like metal tearing. The dome shook, but held. Then came the fire rain. Small glowing sparks from the sky that melted the ground, but the dome pushed them back. The last wave was the worst, pure energy. Like a wall of lightning, it slammed against the dome with all its strength. Tom stood just behind Mira, watching the sisters strain. Tala's arms trembled. Senna's lips moved silently. Lina's eyes glowed white. Rel gritted her teeth. Vara stayed still, but her feet dug into the ground. You can stop, Tom shouted. You've done enough. No, Mira said. This is what family does. The final blast hit. The dome cracked but did not break. And then, silence. The storm passed. 1 hour later, the sky was clear. The wind stopped. The ground was wet and glowing in places. Trees lay broken, but the house stood firm. The sisters sat inside, tired but smiling. Tom brought water for each one. They had saved not just their home, but also the colony. The communicator beeped. Bren's voice came through. Tom, we saw what you did. Your power saved us. Thank you. Tom looked at Mira. She saved you, he said. They all did. Bren paused. Maybe we were wrong about your home. Seems more like a station of heroes. Tom smiled. It's just a family. That night, under a calm sky, the sisters rested while Tom sat beside Mira on the deck. Today could have ended badly, he said. But it didn't, she replied. He looked at her face. Tired but peaceful. You're incredible. We all are. Together. Tom nodded. I believe that now. With everything I have. After the storm, everything felt different. The land had changed. The trees that once stood tall near the garden were now broken and scattered. The air felt fresher. Like the planet had taken a deep breath after holding it in for too long. But, more than the land, it was the feeling inside the house that had shifted. Tom sat on the porch with Mira as the morning sun rose. The light was soft, and the sky was clear. The chaos from the storm was gone. But its memories stayed with them. You all saved the colony, Tom said quietly. Mira nodded. It was not just us. You helped. Your choice made it possible. Tom shook his head. I connected a few wires. You and your sisters held the storm off with your hands. Mira smiled. We all played our part. That is how it should be. Inside the house, the sisters were already moving. Tala was repairing the broken garage door. Senna was tuning her crystals. Though many of them had cracked during the storm, Rel was gathering supplies to rebuild the garden. Lena and Var worked together to repair the outer wall, even though they rarely spoke much. Tom watched them and felt something new in his chest. It wasn't confusion anymore. It wasn't worry. It was respect, deep and quiet. By midday, Tom decided to help Rel with the garden. They worked side by side, planting new seeds and cleaning up fallen branches. You've changed, Rel said, without looking up. How do you mean? When we first arrived, you looked like a scared bird, she said, laughing. Now you walk like one of us. Tom chuckled. I think I've just gotten used to all the surprises, she smiled. Good. More are coming. Tom looked at her. What kind of surprises? Rel shrugged. Living with 6 minds is never simple. One day we build a garden. Next day we fly a ship to fix the sun. That's just how life works when you share it. Tom nodded slowly. I used to think life needed to be simple, clean, quiet. Do you still think that? He looked at the growing plants and shook his head. Not anymore. Later, Tom helped Senna collect broken crystals. They walked through the field where the storm had been strongest. Will they still work? He asked. Some, Senna said. Others will become something new. Tom picked up one that was cracked in the middle. It still made a soft sound when he held it, like music trapped inside. This one sounds sad, he said. Senna nodded. It remembers. Tom looked at her. Do you? She smiled gently. We all remember. That is why we stay close. He didn't know what to say, so he walked with her in silence. The wind moved through the grass, and the world felt peaceful again. At dinner, the family gathered around a simple meal. No strange glowing food this time. Just warm soup and fresh bread. They ate together in calm. Tala spoke first. I finished. Repairs on the relay. It's stronger now. The colony sent thanks again. Lena added. Sky patterns are stable. No more storms for now. Var said. Defenses are rebuilt. Tom listened and felt proud. They had become more than guests in his home. They had become part of its walls, its heart. After the meal, Tom stood and cleared his throat. I want to say something, he said. The sisters turned to him, quiet and curious. I know I didn't understand your ways at first. I didn't know what it meant when Mira said yes. I didn't expect 5 ships to land or my quiet life to become something wild. They smiled, but no one interrupted. But now I see it differently. You didn't come here to take space. You came to share, to build, to protect, and somehow you made this house feel more alive than ever. He looked at each sister, then at Mira. I don't know everything. I'll still make mistakes, but I want to keep learning. I want to be a part of this family, not just by name, but by heart. Mira stood and came to him. You already are. She said softly, you became one of us the moment you chose to stay through the storm. Var gave a short nod. Rel raised her bowl like a toast. Tala smiled. Lena gave a rare small laugh. Center placed a hand on his shoulder. It was quiet, but it was clear. He was no longer the outsider. The next day, they made new plans. Tala and Tom started designing a shared workshop, part human tech, part O'Laren tools. Rel and Mira began drawing maps for a larger garden, one that could feed more than just their house. Senna helped Tom create a rest zone outside the house with soft lights and wind chimes made from saved crystals. Lena began training Tom in basic sky scans, and Vara offered to teach him the history of their people. Every day was busy, but balanced. Work, rest, laughter, stories. Sometimes there were misunderstandings, like when Rel tried to cook with engine fuel by mistake, or when Tom stepped on Lina's silent tracker hidden in the floor. But instead of causing trouble, those moments led to more understanding. The house had changed forever, and so had Tom. One evening, as the sun set over the hills, Tom and Mira sat alone near the lake. The water reflected the soft pink and gold sky. A few crystal lanterns floated on the surface. "Do you miss Earth?" Mira asked. "Sometimes," Tom said, "but not the same way I used to." "Why not?" He looked at her. "Because this place, this family, it feels like home now." Mira rested her head on his shoulder. "Then we've found balance." "Yes," Tom whispered. "We really have." The house was full of voices, soft music, and the smell of fresh cooking. It was the first day of the new season, the O'Laren renewal, on their homeworld. It was a time for families to gather, give thanks, and start fresh, even though they were far from their original planet. Mira and her sisters wanted to celebrate it on Earth. Tom had no idea how to prepare, but he wanted to try. "Are there any special rules?" he asked while helping Tala hang silver banners across the porch. Tala handed him a small glowing ribbon. "One rule only. We celebrate together, inside the house." Rel was drawing symbols on the walls using flower dust paint. Senna placed memory crystals across the shelves, each one a gift from a moment they had shared. Lena arranged soft colored lights around the living space, careful to keep them dim and peaceful. Vara, as always, was working quietly in the corner, sharpening a strange tool that looked both ancient and modern. Tom walked to the kitchen, where Mira was making a sweet-smelling drink, using earth fruit and O'Laren spice. "I didn't expect any of this," he said. Mira smiled at him. "It's your first renewal. It must be special." Tom looked around at the glowing lights, the strange decorations, and the beautiful blend of two cultures. "You've turned this house into something different. Not just us," Mira said. "You helped shape it too. Your way of living, your words, your patience, they changed us." Tom sat down and took a breath. "I used to live alone. I thought peace meant silence. But now I understand something else." "What is it?" Mira asked. "Peace means being surrounded by people who care, even if they argue, even if they make noise." Mira nodded slowly. "That is the human way." As evening came, more visitors arrived. 3 human neighbors from the nearby colony, curious but kind, joined the celebration. At first, they were unsure how to act around the O'Laren sisters, but Mira welcomed them with soft greetings. Tal handed out small glowing stones as gifts. Rel told jokes, strange ones, but funny enough to make the humans laugh. Senna showed them how to tune a memory crystal to sing. By the time the sky turned dark, the garden was filled with lights, laughter, and warmth. Tom stood near the fire pit and looked around. He remembered the day Mira had said yes. He remembered the surprise when 5 more sisters landed. He remembered the confusion, the noise, and the struggle to understand. Now, it all felt like a dream that turned into a life. Suddenly, the sound of engines broke the peace. A large shuttle appeared in the sky, its lights blinking red and blue. The garden grew silent. Tom stepped forward as the ship landed just outside the fence. The doors opened, and a team of colony officers stepped out, holding scanning devices and official tools. One officer, a woman named Dara, stepped forward. "We received a report about unregistered alien activity here." Tom raised his hand. "They're not dangerous. They're family." Dara looked around at the decorations, the peaceful group, the human guests, and the smiling alien sisters. I see no danger here, she said slowly, but you must complete the unity bond. Declaration. It's the only way to protect them under colony law. Tom turned to Mira. What is that? Mira answered calmly. It's a formal promise. A public statement that we are joined, that we stand together, legally, emotionally, and socially. Tom looked at her eyes. And do you want that? I already said yes, she said with a smile. Now we must make it official. They stood in front of the fire, surrounded by the others. Dara stepped back and allowed them their space. Tom held Mira's hand. Her skin was cool and smooth, and her eyes held stars inside them. I didn't expect any of this, he said softly. But I don't want to go back to life before you. Mira replied, you changed the way we see humans. You opened this home. You gave us peace. You stayed through storms and chaos. You became one of us. He took a breath. Then let's do this. Let's be one family. She nodded. Tala placed a glowing stone between them. Rel added a vine from the garden. Senna held a crystal that began to hum. Lena set the stone symbols beside them. Var stood behind them, silent but strong. The light rose, and Dara scanned the bond with her device. Unity bond registered. You are now protected under combined Eartho-Laren law. Cheers broke out around them. The celebration became brighter. Music started again. Hours later, Tom sat alone for a moment, watching the stars. Mira joined him, sitting close. Do you miss the quiet? She asked. He smiled. Not even a little. She leaned against him. We're going to build something big, not just a house, a way for others like us to live together. You mean humans and Olarans? Yes, and others too. A new kind of home, a new kind of family. Tom looked at her and nodded. Then let's start here. The next morning, the sisters began marking the land behind the garden. They had plans now, blueprints for a training space, a learning room, and an open area for new rivals. The house had become more than a home. It was becoming a symbol. Mira stood beside Tom and looked at the rising sun. This world is not perfect, but it can grow. Just like people. Tom looked at the busy sisters, at the strong walls they built. Together, and the land they protected. You're right, he said. It can grow. We all can.